Well, good afternoon as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful afternoon of April 15th, year 2024, on a Monday afternoon here at the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of uh, public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there that make it your business to enhance and fortify this wonderful concept called public access as it stretches itself on all of its implications and aspects throughout the communities of the United States of America. Just try to pause and imagine the strength behind this silent availability of a stage and somewhat kind of indirect, though very potent encouragement in place within that um, availability and option and access and just an available opening. It's almost sometimes too good to be true. Even after 40 years with this concept, as far as I'm concerned, in my life here at the East End, I'm still in awe in the face of just the simplistic aspect of it all, and I treasure it. And by treasuring it, I'm kind of also reminding myself of what it entails, and also what it installs within that concept as it constantly shows its prolific. Uh, um, what's the word? Versatile body of work. So wanted also to mention the ongoing group art exhibitions here at the corridors of East Hampton of LTV, and of course the fact that we've been doing it for 26 years and we have group shows every month, sometimes 3 weeks, sometimes 5 weeks, but we rotate. And in the last 26 years, I don't think we have excluded any artist here at the East End. We have Frank Sofo on display, and that's going to be throughout the first week of May, with an opening reception on Saturday, April 27th, from 3 to 6 here in Wainscott, on 75 Industrial Road in Wainscott, which is literally parallel to the runway of East Hampton Airport. Especially with the current show, we are actually showing Sofo's. The Sofo, Frank Sofo passed away not too long ago, and so it's just our way of giving him the space and also the time to be exposed to that and to have a the rightful recognition as his contribution as an artist to this community was immense. So I'm trying to trick myself and outdo myself and maybe make myself to believe certain things in order to kind of have that reality that I have to go through every day tolerable. Um, I don't know if I should say achievable, but accessible, tolerable, um, withstanding, uh, supporting, and also uh, uh, open for um, adaptation of changes and implementation of residues of breakthroughs. And now, when it comes to painting, for example, now I'm in the and I really want you to realize that every time I speak about things that are, I guess if I will summarize most of the things that I ever said here on the air in the last 37 years, it wouldn't be really more than just the fundamentals that one's feeling as an artist would be in place, and the nature of it. It's just those fundamentals. What do they stand for? When you say freedom of expression, you, in my language, speak of painting paintings and sculpting and erecting musical compositions and exposing technical capabilities that speak um, for durability in the process of exercising and sharpening and fine tuning, and also being able to adapt to new environments and still keep the familiar self in being prolific, active, supportive, um, uh, you know, reactive, and speaking its piece within the motion forward of the process itself. And that's actually a very should be a given in the life, in the journey of any and every artist, to the residues of that, which usually we consider as dust, that we better clear ourselves out of the way of that dust, even though we might be following the most influential, wonderful, supportive, inspiring tribe on planet Earth. Still, that dust will suffocate us and make us ill, maybe slow us down, challenge us in a way that we would prefer not to be challenged, because we arrive to that point where we are capable of choosing our battles, and maybe I should say choosing our um, process of resolution as we face and experience those obstacles and slowdowns and pauses and doubt, and just like that which causes second thoughts. But there's no room for second thoughts, because you have arrived to some kind of a destination that is defined according to the goal that was put in place so solidly and resolvely earlier in the process, when we first had a vision and had a dream, and then put it together by way of coping with the desires, by way of allowing not only the kind of energies, the amount of energy needed, always made sure that there's more than enough, always thinking of this the all the aspect that's really serve as a draining factor. Oh my God, don't you don't you see it familiar as an artist, that sometimes you find yourself coming out of an artificial coma, where you really don't know what took place or what happened, and then all you know is that you've been drained from your energy, because the way you feel leaves no doubt and no room to think otherwise. So that drainage, ooh, how many preparations you need to have in place: goodwill, a willingness to understand, to be enlightened, to be educated, to know more about that which you usually don't think that you there's any need to know about anything about it to begin with, especially not more than what you already know, if you know at all something or anything, because it's just the way the creative process will kind of place the composition within the given space in a way that is, mm, I can say, known only to him, but but also an interpretation is always available if you can only be willing to try and decipher some portion of it, so you don't have to go out of your mind in order to find uh, success in resolving the password or whatever of some sort. But a passport that happens not to be a passport, a password that happens not to be a password, is just almost like a gesture in place that feels and measures and reflects and superimpose the heat uh, projected from the tools, and from before engagement, and the tools during engagements, and the tools after the engagement. What wonderful way to indicate uh, uh, um, the prolificness of your attempts, your goodwill, your talent, your action, your devotion of time, your work ethics and all of that. So you want to be able to get a report, a, a periodical report that just tells you, tells you, just tells you that you're actually doing fine. It's a lot to be able to hear, especially with a familiar voice. I remember when I first started, daring even to think that I can stare a canvas in the face and make it succumb to my will. Oh, succumb to my will. I was like insanity to think that that's possible. Even when I was like intimidated in the past with vast surfaces, huge surfaces that demanded my attention as a professional, not necessarily as an artist. There might have been some portion of articism there. Um, that artism is just kind of a smear of Mother Nature that tells you, well, uh, you're going to prevail. Might as well prevail with a little touch of art or color or pigment or playfulness or happy sounds or the you know pastelish reality unfolding kind of thing. So yeah, I was to think that I was to it's that surface to say, come to my wills. Like, yeah, right. Yeah, but that's exactly what took place because you can find out that you're the person that you can really keep a straight face. A straight face, the meaning of it, if you are willing to play and to wheel and deal with what it really means, straight and straight face, what are the implications and how is it guaranteeing a huge improvement of results of especially in the creative process when you painting. How much do you paint? How do you improve your style? How do you add more substantial aspects, facets to your style that is actually changing your style without any declaration that here's what's taking place? Keeping within business as usual, keeping a straight face, being kind of resolved vis-a-vis being stubborn, just like plain good old stubbornness that everyone can understand, and you've been adapting it in a most professional fashion to work for you. That stubbornness. So the stubbornness that kicked in into the wondering of the self. Can I really make this almighty reality succumb to my will? And knowing myself the way that I knew myself, the answer already was delivered forth while the question was being asked. And when something like that happens, you know that the answer is a good answer. That means the answer is a yes. Can I do it? Yes, you can do it. Can I do it my way? Yes, you can do it. Can I approach sooner? Yes, you can. Can I change a few things in the initial layout? Yes, you can. Can I rethink the strategy? Yes, you can. Can I adapt from my own achievements into the reservoir of that which is conservative altogether? Yes, of course, you can do. Every time you ask in that nature, no matter how much and how far and how deep, the answer will be yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Now, okay. Of course, we need yes, you can only once we got the drill. Because the first yes, you can is already meeting a force that is in an ongoing position. And as it joins the vessels that approaches it in, let's say, 40 miles an hour and become one with it in a seamless transition, it's instantly because the more seamless it was, the greater the speed is once that reunion is being accomplished. And usually it's 1/3 of a second, maybe even faster. But I'm just saying. And So you realize that your rehearsals and your investment of time in improving your technique, your chops, and speaking of that which is elusive and how you play a part in that composition that involves music and involves theater, involves painting, involves writing, involves philosophizing, involves choosing a religion, it involves creating your own religion, it involves denying all religions, it involves favoring politics, it involves wanting to be in front of the orchestra, even if it's only for one miserable second, but wanting that. And for the most part, being right, because remember, yes, you can. Can I face the orchestra for 1 second? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. For 1 minute, yes, you can. For as long as I can handle it, yes, you can. So you want to be able to continue to admire that which you have instinctively already found yourself feeling towards whatever. Before I was an artist, I was an avid gallery goer. Openings were my fun time. And suddenly I realized about myself that I'm developing capabilities to understand how what it means to evaluate art or my feelings according to my evaluation of the art that I'm observing, experiencing. Suddenly I realize that every time I go to an opening, I get to be able to see more, a little more, wider, deeper, further away, things that just I find them in the horizon, deep in the horizon, and suddenly, immediately, they show into my immediate forefront because they sense that there's a genuine desire there fermenting, making it may its voice being heard. Some gesture and immediate connection. The future wants to make its presence known, and I realized that a long time ago already. So for me, it was like, okay, I can definitely benefit from it if I was to find a way to encourage the future to show up more often than not, because it's just like, got lots of questions. Even if I get just one question being answered, but I will find my strength momentarily in the hands of something that I, in a very peculiar way, trust. Don't know it from Jesus, don't know it from nothing, don't know it ever. Never saw it before, never felt it before, never dealt with it before, never touched it before, never thought about it before. It never existed before. So now it's exactly all the opposite and it's instant. Do I get to find myself second guessing anything in this process of realization? Wow, it tastes good, it feels good, it 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 it's a chunk of goodness that lasts for a while, a long while, longer than I thought ever. And so this immediate sensation of satisfaction, something that wasn't even maybe in my I don't think I I never brought into the equation matters that involve satisfaction, because it's just satisfaction. What I would have never thought that I would ever have to deal with the satisfaction when it comes to um okay, I'm gonna have Okay, so yeah, this was a nice phone call now with a nice person. A nice phone call with a nice person. So you want to encourage the future to show its face more often than not because you know the implications. You know what it means when the future try to make its presence known immediately, instinctively, suddenly you realize things fast. And you realize that if you sum it all up, it's just some good stuff is happening. It 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 spells goodness. It spells positive. It spells progress. It spells breakthroughs. It spells hope and new promises, a greater potential. It spells that. And so you can go by hundreds and then as they say, words for exchange. Um, and and from that sense of elevation, yes, when you realize that you didn't actually even had to do half as much as you thought you would have to do in order to make the canvas or the potential resistance of that white surface succumb to your will. Not only did it took place so fast. And then you realize this is not about superiority. This is not about dominance. It's about a realization from the obstacle itself, while there's a desire on behalf of the obstacle to do what it usually, by its own nature, does, is stands in someone's way, blocks a certain channel in the journey of something, of someone. And suddenly there is a pause, and suddenly there's the stepping aside, and suddenly there's the allowance for you to go through. Now, it won't happen that often, but when it happens, you will know how great and how satisfying it feels. You just like going down Second Avenue from 57th Street, going south on Second Avenue, and making it at least to 14th Street on a green streak. I've done that so many times in the past where my girlfriend and I, we were in the car and we said, okay, let's catch that green streak. and and you would just feel so lightheaded, lightweight, like whatever. So floating, like when you feel that. Of course, it's a ridiculous example of driving on Second Avenue and saying this is as close as I can. Well, for me at least, as close as I can compare it to something that in some way that I feel that speaks for this obstacle suddenly steps out of your way, intentionally, knowingly lets you go through because things that known to you happened and took place, and that it makes sense to you why at this instance the obstacle itself will remove itself from your path, i.e., succumbing to your will by its own uh, by its own gestures, by its own action, by its own quick process of realization, what is exactly the nature of what's taking in front of you. Because sometimes good things happen to us, and we don't really want to pause and say, let's look closely as to what is the nature of that goodness and where it's coming from. And all we will be too busy enjoying that goodness, which is not a bad idea at all. But that goodness can also be in allowing yourself some rigidness in the midst of that ultimate freedom and softness in order to create the necessary friction. And usually with art, friction produces results, artistic results. Suddenly that line is now a gorgeous, provoking brushstroke. Suddenly the 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 straight line into that kind of rigid elliptic shape into the circle through the three kinds of triangles is the most exquisite scenario slash composition slash possibilities coming together in the same place in the same time. I mean, you're talking about major things. You're talking about capturing the light that happens, the kind that is the most elusive. That means it's so elusive that it can never be considered as ever existing. It's so elusive that it cannot ever be considered as ever being existed, ever being existing, ever. That's how elusive. If you want, you can write it down. Actually, it's an incredible sentence. It's so elusive that actually it cannot even exist in the thought that will describe the inability of its existence, the zero probability for its existence. That elusive. But when you reach a center that is not governed by that which you come together with, there is like a third party. Now, now you start operating on a level where you don't have to get the right product in order for your expectations of the results or of whatever it is, it will be uh, uh, compatible with everything that you need. It you wouldn't have to do it. Anything you will use, if you speak of paint, as long as it's kind of somewhat runny, somewhat liquidish, if not liquidish, then pastish, but something, yeah, something that can serve as a glue and pigment and glue at the same time, and something that can be the glue itself that will uh, deliver objects, and when they decide to nest and to land and to unite, then it will have the glue to help it stay in place and instantly is there forever. Okay. So probably when you hear me, you probably hear yourself. So okay, so he's talking so much and all this. So where and when and where is the time of creation itself? So when do you paint? Let's say you think you're a philosopher, you're you're a perfect carpenter, you're a great mechanic, you are so many things, but tell me about the painting. Where do you paint? When do you paint? Maybe a little bit about how do you paint? Do you at all paint? Is it someone else who's painting? What exactly is happening? I need to know. Real time painting. When does it take place? Real time painting. Real time playing music slash recording. Real time. Okay. And then you realize that the most innocent question in the world can slow you down like immeasurably. The most innocent question in the world can suddenly hit you, and suddenly you would say to yourself, yeah, this is correct. This question makes me realize that I cannot continue. I have to deliver the answer that has just been posed here. So how come not? Correct, how come not? So I'm going to do something about it. And you put things on hold. Then you attend to it. Then you learn about its nature on top of what you already know. Then you realize that actually this is the beginning of a new journey or an additional journey through which you will be implementing later on when you're going to be back in the neighborhood after everything is said and done. You will have enough deposits because you're smart to know that you're going to treasure everything, even if there's just a hint of something good, a hint of something you might like remotely in the future. You adapt, you include, so you know that later on you will be a happy camper in if, amongst the deposits of all this self-inflicting goodness, I call it. Self-inflicting. Okay, so let's see where we stand, because I am just like good. So that would be 45, yeah. So I did put together some poems. Then I realized, you know what? That's what I meant when I said I'm actually kind of talking to myself right now. And okay, well, I'm gonna do this here, and I'm gonna share some poems with you. But this is a high-powered, really. I mean, I don't know. I don't like to say anything about anything, but just the style of it. Mm-mm. Biennale. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. So no, no, no. I'm not gonna play games with this. This is it right there. Oh yeah. This. I think I'm just gonna go for it. About a dozen poems. They're all connected. They're all. Um, uh, oh man. I don't even know where to begin. Uh, okay. This is called the Smiler, a ritual of give and take. All subordinations fold the wings of their low level donations. Now and then, somewhat, the pearls proceed with the process of purification. To you, the loving, the pointer, the smiler, the main preservation of a creation of smooth rubbing, not as a catcher of all the voices of relatability. I love this word, relatability. The tone as it travels through the alien layer of granting the artist to speak its piece, his piece, by the stretch of the imagination of the other unknown partner who becomes familiar to us by way of artistic passion sharing. And this goes to presence because it's we want to kind of start early on, including level headed, a sign of becoming in an ice age of top regard, slowly getting up a sound barrier as needed by adapting sensors of change, twists of faith, envisioning a cross through, a moment with soaking edges, considerations not sparingly offer a share of knowledge, slow motion, free base, tiring, a heightened pleasure of presence, hope for old fashioned stamina. I think what I should, what I would, what I must, what I prefer, what I see fit, what I favor, what I'm most likely to think, a barrel of fullness, an occurring trip, a feast to the eyes, a rugged surface at the footsteps of a certain fall. Maybe it's an act of faith to find the factor of not knowing better than the traveling paint under the close observations of the inventor of color, meaning, ringing, and of course the presence leads to ringing, and let the scene of the action pretending all, experiencing a wave of closeness, plain closeness, rituals of rare emotional transformation, becoming a fresh unfoldment with comfortable edges, balanced in a musical way, ringing so promisingly with small mouths, revolving, sampling a possible relief. Now I should go and come and should go and come back, bring peace as a package of enlightenment. And of course, that presence leads to routine. The whole story began and never thought twice about its course or the impact of the turning wheel. I love the weather of changing attachment. I love the weather of changing attachments, belonging, not belonging, stealing the part of power, food and the aroma of heaven, stealing the part of power, food and the aroma of heaven through the needs of the body, never alone, as the strike finds the typical target of an evil cluster. And I add to it a pro sequence chain of events to come, and all the surrounding aspects of creating movements reveal proximity and the desire to unite with an eloquent spring and agility. Trip to the distance and resting center. No more story with time put aside to hear it. And of course, that presence lead into inner summary. Makes only sense that it should. A form with another face, with another expression, with a whole vacant, HOLE, with a whole vacant available, sucking air, thinking eyes, plurality of vision, sections cut off, fold with an inner summary in mind, hushing the wind and the sound of leverage reduced, crispy import of flavor, tempting scenery of an educated valley downstream, with food picking and love present, over and over done would simply put aside, over and over done would simply put aside, with nobility and fake royalty, the castles of opportunities, the rhythm across from a sign of hopping excitedly, with some more of the reminiscent stuff that grows uncontrollably in my backyard, mental trespassing with a crucial aspect of city consumption. It does look deep into the first sign of specific qualities, full body forward at a crowning time, at a crowning time of learning and using nicknames heavily. The regard of disregard, a twinkling in our eyes, in my eyes, in our prolific path, a color of deep relation, explanation, nation, ration, of point of no return. You must be a healing healer, leaving quietly the dream and showing off en route back to delicate assessments, trophy of a hyper disposition, not a bit of respite, back to basics, full of humility. One hand in the function of present and point, finally the aim as straight as the mystery of object and trade skills, healer of the first sign of specific qualities, back to the dream and plot, enough allowance to explore the nature of our character. What a spring bounce and level-headed rigidity. I to you are of the she is holy. I to you are of the she is holy. I to you are of the she is holy. Could she have had a slur to object? The language of easy riding and holy shit, perfect target of softness and mental decency. And of course, presence then lead to song. That's inevitable also. A place to ring the ear. And into the half submission, a pretty song of summons, placing a deep conviction of a tear. And the swing as it comes into the equation of that scenario of presence song and the swing, some of the hope was feeling challenged, calling in the confined place of giving up the cure, often to draw a sheet of progress in self admiration, I call again. I am the call. I am the swing. Of course, an elevated dream of edge holder. An elevated dream of an edge holder. A fine lip syncing, but truly finding the role to call. The fear to order. The calmness to a small window of grace. Peeking with a wonder and curiosity to get the answer. It is as the plain image and the herd of family, HERD, the aura. Of course, it just summons everything, the aura. What a quality move. Going uphill, downhill, a rash of temper, a place of being drawn to the first element of breaking ground, top, top, noun, frigid. In the clueless night, a low level shadow of temperaments as the expression seeks refuge. Not quite clear from what, maybe just the traveling image as a part of our desire to get the record straight, to get the record straight with how far we go, ready to go to assure a knowledge of the love that speaks volume in the territory of personal affairs, adding on extra range of the thread of the voices of utmost allowances. And of course, pretty move comes always handy. Smell, a pretty move. Smell, approach. You know the drill. Even lords of respect, the door opener. Oh, flash by the eye of limitation. Look to the moving part machine, backer of a sort who loves the smell of metal. Backer of the sort who loves the smell of metal, today and tomorrow, for the expression of relativity as a law of games and deep meaning of plain longevity, belonging to itself with closeness of promises. And love is in the air as much as the air can contain. The pain coming along with the gift of flourishing. And of course, it's always, personalizing it with the bird, how lovely the bird is. This journey, of hers, mine, this bird, this journey of hers. My bird is this bird with journeys of hers. I yield, I oblige, I realize bird is bringing joy. This one bird of many realizations of wind striking the feathers of wings. Is not it, eyes shut, level headed, remote feelings of abandonment? A grieve I grieve the so called plain layout of daydreams, an accumulation of certain needs in a frenzy of must haves. I already informed the meaning of its long shot guesses, or the trouble-making scenario gathering to take down the perfectly constructed logic, so responsible for the stable erection of the longevity of ideas. Not in vain do I stand in the midst of the rebalance of danger, staring, looking hard, observing the identity of the surrounding beauty itself, surrounded by mystery, not really understanding the participating force, active, full pledge, an attempt to slice the rotation, to reveal the art of heritage generations, accumulating generational accumulation, forming a second and additional understanding, implementing a greater force than force itself, to listen to the ticking gold old advances smeared horizontally, dripping essence vertically, the corners of the outsmarting capability. They present the challenge, the mystery of downhill reaching for the awkward union, from unity complete. It has a continuous quality, appealing, pleasing, craving a smooth pulse, a flow ripping placement of firmness, wide, agile, surely marking surely marking a personality, a point of recognizing the stream of motion, emotion, what identification, suggesting by way of knowledge a layer, out, clean cut, totally relevant self and a you normalcy. Pro is a love of favor and the oldness breaching steadily with a little experience, a turning point preaching through the opening, being recognized all the way to, and then that's where I stopped. I have to finish that poem. All the way to somewhere. Let's see what. Just want to mention April 15th, year 2024, on a Monday afternoon here with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and, of course, the tradition of this wonderful show of ours, the Hello Hello Show, since 1980. Unbelievable. Let's see how much time we have. Yes, we have another. I can conclude by this is like a conclusion of a nice uppercut, yet the gentleness of process of pregnancy, because the womb is vacant, and the mother wants to return to this vacancy, something like that. Remembering the slow factors, I am the returning mother to the vacant womb, and you think it's the end, and you think it's over, and you think it's done. Remembering the slowdown factors, stabbing the poor animal in the heart, leaving the scene of the crime, dancing in the rain of deception. A real perspective, a real truth digger amongst us, arms around the right shoulder. Trust me, my flare of crispy sight. Reveal to me the moment of constructive sadness, a chin peeler, cracked, deliberate. They did not reduce the tension of dear flare on the moon. Moreover, the heat director flyby present of endearment. Moreover, the heat director flyby present of endearment belongings. Moreover, the heat director flyby present of endearment belongings. This very time of knockout. This very time of knockout of the cutting upwardly. That MF. That MF of an enriching champion in the giant of dwellings, willing to receive the price of speaking with dripping earth, the left hook of the undenying whisper of out in the great digging grave of the queen, in the alive scenario of wide as wide can be, impossible to bring all to the second in commands the out of sync instincts. Now that's intense, intense. In the alive scenario of wide as can be, impossible to bring all to the second of commands, the out of sync instincts, turning mother of the vacant womb as I passed. Definitely, I granted that same amount of goodness embedded within my very pure given sense of a will to give, to share, to grind the calling of smart investigation and therefore research into the matter of sound blasting sweetness. I am the returning mother of the vacant womb, and don't be surprised to see me speak easy to the animal alongside me. And don't be surprised, don't lift the image of the melting intimacy of victims, your heritage of yet to come offerings of generosity, the love of family fading, Late night ritual, soulmate, brief freeze. You look and find poetry of the kind Melancholia showcases so lovingly in the purity of remembrance, crash coursing the easy angle of withstanding the sense of purpose, the live alone pride of try blocking searcher plow wheel, the easy angle of withstanding the sense of purpose, the live alone pride of try blocking searcher plow wheel, the tribe of try blocking searcher plow wheel, surrounding so ever after wisdom of long travel into the willing child, self debriefing, a self to the pleasure of drought closure, a self to the pleasure of drought closure. Why don't they take care of their own love of understanding family? The place of injecting tough love, the swing around of the constant newness of the ancient residents of permanent labor, to the right, to the left, all directions trembled flawless and never flashed the unnecessary signal of distress into the pathway to a personal heaven. My sweet sworn in brain brother, never to be a spiteful ploy denier. We shall see. Remembering the slow down factors stabbing the poor animal in the heart, leaving the scene of crying, dancing in the rain of deception, and you think it's the end, and you think it's over, and you think it's done. A real perspective, a real truth digger amongst us, arms around the right shoulder. Trust me, my flare of crispy sight. Reveal to me moment of constructive sadness, a chin peeler cracked, deliberate. They did not reduce the tension, dear flare on the moon. Moreover, the heat director, flyby present, of endearment belongings, this very time of knockout, of the cutting upwardly, that MF of an enriching champion in the giant of dwelling, willing to receive the price of speaking with dripping earth, the left hook of the undeniable whisper of out in the great digging grave of the Queen, in the alive scenario of wide as can be impossible to bring all to the second in commands, the out of sync instincts, turning mother of the vacant womb, tuning mother of the vacant womb as I passed. Definitely, I granted that same amount of goodness embedded within my very pure given sense of a will to give, to share, to grind the calling of smart investigation. And therefore, research into the matter of sound blasting sweetness. I am the returning mother of the vacant womb, and don't be surprised to see me speak easy to the animal alongside me. And don't be surprised, don't lift the image of a melting intimacy of victims, your heritage of yet to come offerings of generosity, the love of family fading, late night ritual, soulmate, brief freeze. You look and find poetry of the kind Melancholia showcases so lovingly in the purity of remembrance, crash coursing the easy angle of withstanding the sense of purpose, the live alone pride of try blocking, searcher plow wheel, surmounting so ever after wisdom of long travel into the willing child self debriefing, a self to the pleasure of drought cluster. Why don't they take care of their own love, of understanding family, to place the injecting tough love, the swing around of the constant newness of the ancient residence of permanence labor? To the right, to the left, all directions trembled flawless and never flashed the unnecessary signals of distress into the pathway of a personal heaven. My sweet sworn in brain brother, never to be a spiteful ploy denier. We shall see. And oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay, I guess I'm a little overwhelmed, as I assume that you are a little overwhelmed too. So I just wanted to conclude. First of all, thank you for your patience, for being there, and if you managed to go through this 60 minutes of whatever it is that had just happened, good for you, good for me, good for us. We're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this afternoon, Monday, April 15th, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. Just to remind you, we have an ongoing show as we do every month, and as we had for about the last 26 years, portraying artists, sometimes group shows, sometimes solo exhibitions like we have now of the late Frank Sofo is here with us with his work. I mean, through the first week of May and the with an opening reception on Saturday, April 27th between 3 and 6 p.m. here at LTV Studios, 75 Industrial Road. Of course, if you want to call or send an email, of course, just go on ltveh.org and so much more. And really, I really appreciate you being there and contributing and adding the way that you do so adamantly and so forcefully and so strongly and so prolifically and so potent. It's good for you. We're all proud of you there. Keep up the good spirits. We'll see you sooner than later.